Let me tell you something. Most businesses don't fail because of competitors or a bad product. The real reason most businesses fail is because they don't consistently engage with their customers. They don't actually listen to what customers are saying. Every single month, thousands of businesses lose thousands or even millions of dollars just because they're not interacting with their customers. They fail to understand the real reason why customers are unhappy with their product or service. The great thing about customer interaction is that it helps you clearly identify where the problem is in your product or service. You can track what needs improvement, and you can even use feedback from happy customers as social proof. But here's the problem. Reading and responding to customer feedback can take hours or even days, and it can be very expensive. Luckily, we're living in the age of AI, and with a simple n8n system, you can cut down a huge amount of that time and cost. In this video, we're going to build a system together that collects customer feedback, categorizes each message, stores it in a database, and sends a fully personalized response to every single customer. You can use this system in your own business or even sell it to other businesses that need it for around $5,000 to $10,000. I won't take up more of your time. Let's jump into the video and I'll show you how to build this system from scratch. All right. In the first step, we're going to use the on-form submission trigger, so customers can submit their feedback through a form. Here, you'll see two sections, test URL and production URL. The test URL is used when our workflow is not active yet and we're still in the testing phase. The production URL is for when the workflow is active and ready to be used in production. In the authentication section, you can also set a password for your form if you want. Let's skip the top settings for now and move on to the main part. Here, we set the form title to Feedback, and in the description, we write, "We'd love to hear your feedback about our product." Now we click on Add Form Element to add the fields that the customer needs to fill out. For the first field, I set the field name to Name, and in the label, I write, "Please enter your name." I leave the element type as text, and I turn on Required Field. If this option is enabled, the customer won't be able to submit the form unless they enter their name. Next, we add the email field so we can respond to the customer's feedback. So, field name, email, label. Please enter your email here. Element type, email. And I also enable Required Field. And the last and most important field is the feedback itself. Field name, feedback label. Please enter your feedback here. I leave the element type as text, and I enable Required Field as well. Now, when we click on Execute Step, we're taken to a page like this. This is the exact place where customers can enter their feedback. For the sake of continuing the workflow, I'm going to enter some fake data here. I'll set the name to Razz, the email to razz@gmail.com, and in the feedback section, I'll write, "Your product is really terrible." Then I click Submit. Now I'm going to pin the data we just submitted so I don't have to keep filling out the form again and again. Next, we move on to the next part, which is categorizing the feedback content. For this, we use the text classifier node. In this section, we enter the text that we want to categorize. In the Add Category section, we add the categories we want, and we also write a description for each category so the AI can understand which category the message belongs to. For the first category, I write General Feedback, and I add a description explaining what this category is about. The next category I add is feature request, and I write a description for that as well. And the last category is product issue or bug report, with its own description too. All right, I wrote all of these descriptions using ChatGPT. You didn't think I was bored enough to write all this long text myself, did you? Now we click on Model, select the OpenAI chat model or any other text model you like. Before that, we need to set up our credentials. Click on Create New Credential. Everything is explained in the Open Docs, and since it's not complicated, I'm not going to explain it here. Now we click Execute Step. Oh, we got an error. I always have issues with this node. I think the problem is with the output format. Let me try enabling auto-fixing and see if that fixes it. Now we click Execute Step again. All right, it worked. And as you can see, the feedback was categorized under General Feedback, which is the correct category. Now it's time to store these feedback messages in our database. By database, I just mean Google Sheets. It sounds scary, but it's really simple. You can also use Airtable if you want. Before that, let me show you the Google Sheets file. Our Google Sheets file has 3 different sections based on the categories we created earlier. Now we click the plus button, search for Google Sheets, and click on it. Then we choose Append Row in Sheet. We duplicate this node 3 times, 1 for each category, and connect them to the previous node. Now we go into the Google Sheets node. For credentials, if you're using n8n on the official website, you can just sign in with your Google account. But if you're running n8n on local hosts like me, don't worry. In the next video, I'll explain Google Workspace credentials in detail. Now we select the Google Sheets file we created earlier. We map the data from the previous node into the fields, name, email, and feedback. All right. Now, to test both the classifier and the other Google Sheets nodes, I go back to the form and change the feedback. This time, I write, "Your product is really good, but I wish you had added a chatbot." I click Save, go into the text classifier node and click Execute Step. As you can see, the message is now categorized as Feature Request. We go back to the Google Sheets node and store the data in the database again. Now, let's run the final change. I changed the feedback to, "The product was completely broken, and it arrived with torn and damaged packaging." I click Save and then Execute Step. Perfect. It went into the category we expected, and once again, I store it in the database. That's it for the database part. Now, the final step we want to add to our workflow is sending a personalized message to each customer. For feedback that includes bugs or issues, we also want to send the message to the support team so they can follow up, while still sending an apology message to the customer. To do this, we add a Gmail node and choose Send a Message. Once again, we duplicate our nodes 3 times. We go back to the Google Sheets node and click Execute Step so the feedback is saved. Then we go into the Gmail node. Here, we enter the email address of the person who submitted the feedback. For the subject, we write, "About your feedback." We set the email type to text. In the message field, I switch to expression mode. I write, "Hi," as name. "We've received your feedback. We completely understand your issue and we're reviewing it. Our support team will contact you as soon as possible." Now I add another Gmail node and connect it to the Google Sheets node to notify the support team. In the recipient field, I enter razz.support@gmail.com or any email your support team uses. This time, it's not an expression. It's a static value. For the subject, I write bug report, and for the message, this is a feedback we've received. From this email? All right, that's done. Now let's move on to the Gmail message for the feature request category. Before entering the node, we need to change our data again. We go back to the form, and in the feedback field, we write, please add a chatbot. Then we return to the text classifier node and click Execute Step again. Looks good. Now let's create the Gmail message. You can make these replies much more personalized, or even let AI generate a much better message for you. But to keep things simple, I didn't do that here. In the upcoming videos, we're going to build much cooler and more advanced systems together. Razz is here to help you grow, and you promise to support Razz so we can grow together. All right, enough emotional stuff. We go back to the Google Sheets node and click Execute Step. Then we go into the Gmail node. We enter the email address of the person who submitted the feedback. For the subject, we write, your feedback. And in the message, I write, hi, name. We've reviewed your feedback about our service. We really loved your suggestion and will definitely apply it in the next update. All right, guys, this was our workflow. You can build this workflow in a much more advanced and professional way. If you couldn't figure something out, make sure to email me. And remember, the simpler your workflow is, the easier it is for your clients and for yourself, especially when it comes to usage and debugging. So always try to keep your workflow simple, clean, but professional. I really appreciate you all. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next ones. Until the next video, goodbye.